Here we go. And we back again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your favorite podcast. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome back to Griffin. Griffin. Superbowl. All right, y'all, we back again. We're going to have a little Super Bowl recap. I have an interview with my buddy Nick Thune, who's coming out in this movie, The Right One. So, yeah. So we got a little bit of solo, a little bit of interview, a little bit of Super Bowl talk, tell you what I did, and then we'll just go right into the interview, and then that'll be that. And then I'll see you next week, right? And make sure you remember I always stream at Erik Griffin Gaming every day. So welcome to Riffin with Griffin. Woo, 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 woo. All right, Riffin with Griffin is back. Welcome, Super Bowl edition. What a game, right? Well, it actually wasn't even a good game. If you don't know that Tom Brady's the GOAT at this point, if you've doubted him, if you felt like he wasn't the one, you didn't like him, you just hate him, you think he wasn't talented enough, you think he wasn't skilled enough, you think whatever, you think other people got better games than him, whatever you want to say, the dude got 7 Super Bowls. 7. He's been to 10. He's won 7. He's just a leader. He's inspiring. You know, he's 43 years old, playing at the hardest sport to play, the most physically challenging sport in American sports, and he's doing it, succeeding, led another group of men to the Super Bowl, and they won. So it is what it is. There's nothing else to be said. Tom Brady is the best, okay? So there goes that. The game wasn't even, Patrick Mahomes, he just looked shook. I think he was injured. I think that foot was hurting him. The 2 offensive tackles that weren't playing, the calls, like compared to the other game, that was like it was like a lot of rough play going on in that Green Bay game. They were letting them pull and, all the things that they were letting them do. None of that was going on in the Super Bowl. I thought it was a really weirdly called game, but it is what it is. Not to say that took anything away. They beat the shit out of them. So there's no turning back from that. No matter what, there's no excuses. They just were not ready to play. So good for Tom Brady, good for Gronkowski coming back again and catching touchdowns. Those guys look like they were just having a good time, and they'll probably come back again next year. The dude's on his way. He's going to take this TB12 brand and make it into just $1 billion business now, even more so now, like I was saying last week, because now he's like, hey, I'm 43. I won the Super Bowl because of TB12, and then that's what everybody's going to be like. Think of all the dudes right now in their 40s, late 30s, even 50s who are like, damn, I got to get on that program that Tom Brady's on so I can be, more athletic and more successful at what I'm doing. So it really was amazing. The whole thing is amazing. Going to a new team during COVID, not being able to practice a lot, learning a new system, changing the culture, everything that he did. Kudos to him. Tom Brady's the best. So I had I don't know what you guys did. They were worried about the super spreader, events, parties. I didn't have a party. But I did invite 2 of my buddies over, because my buddy Vinny, and then he had brought his cousin Rumson, who was been bragging about these ribs, for a month. He's like, I gotta make the best ribs. So I said, well, bring your soggy ass ribs over, because he makes these like he likes them wet. So we teased him about his old soggy ribs. They were delicious. So shout out to him. I had some good ass ribs. Rachel made some spinach dip from scratch. Didn't even know she could do that. It was delicious. That was great. So and then they came over. And, I didn't want to have a lot of people over. Even 2 is too much, really, in this day and age. And I didn't really post about it. We didn't take a lot of pictures or nothing like that, because not everything you do needs to be on the internet. Not everything. You don't have to share everything about your life on the internet. And what's happening right now is y'all got to be cautious, because, you're at some party. You could be at some party. You put it on Instagram. Oh, look, I'm at a party. Boom, boom, boom. Then you go to work, whatever your job might be, and they might be like, you're not being safe, so we're gonna have to let you go. It happens. Happened to my friend of Rachel's, friend of my girlfriend. She, was gonna be in a movie, had a little part. They saw her Instagram. She had a party, no masks. They were like, nah. So it is what it is. I mean, optics are important too. Even if you don't agree with, even if you think things are going too far, you think people are being too cautious, too scary, whatever you might feel about it, it is what it is. This is the world we live in. So people, it's like when you go to the airport and you got to take your shoes off. It's ridiculous to me. All that dog and pony show stuff that you have to do when you go to the airport is so people feel safe, even if they're not actually safe. But, with the masks, it is what it is. You need to wear your mask so people feel safe. People need to know that you're being safe so they can feel safe when they're around you. It's a whole ripple domino effect. But anyways, had a small gathering, 2 friends, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun just to be around people and sharing a meal, really. We all made something and came together. So that was pretty cool. And then we watched the game, and we had fun making jokes, but it was boring. I thought the game was boring. There wasn't too much excitement. And then, fucking Bucs won. But I will say this, so new segment I'm going to be doing, along with real world advice from a grown-ass man, which will be back next week. New segment, bitching with Griffin, people call it. So let's bitch about these Super Bowl commercials. I thought some of them were good. I thought the Matthew McConaughey commercial, I thought that one was, I thought that one was pretty good. That's pretty funny, where he was like, he was like flat, he needed the 3D. I thought that was funny. I thought the Will Ferrell, Will Ferrell's just always funny. You know what I mean? So it's like there's nothing really to say about that. And then they had a lot of, weird commercials. A lot of pseudo inspiring commercials. We gotta do the uplifting stuff, because that's the day and age we live in. Sometimes I feel like I hate them. I hate when they do an uplifting commercial, but then it's for beer. I remember Guinness had a commercial like that where it was it's like all these dudes in wheelchairs and they're playing basketball and they're, you're like, oh man, this is great. And they're like, and they drink Guinness. It's like, what does that have to do with these dudes in the wheelchair? What you know what I mean? It's like stop piggybacking some like that feeling we get when we watch people overcoming something. They had I hate when it's for a product. To me, it's like, get out of here with that. The Sesame Street, that was old school. Sesame Street, I saw, that's from my childhood, thought that was funny. And then you saw State Farm, the State Farm commercials are funny. Shout out to my boy Kevin, the new Jake from State Farm. He was funny. My favorite was Drake from State Farm. I just thought Drake is funny. I want to play his dad on a sitcom. If he ever goes into TV, y'all be going to send in the petition for me to do that. But I'm sick of the State Farm commercials because Aaron Rodgers, State Farm wants Aaron Rodgers to make the Super Bowl so bad. If it was Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes, oh my God, that would have been, then State Farm would have just been crazy. They would have went crazy with all the ads and commercials. But I'm sick of those. Get them out of there. Aaron Rodgers lost. Get him out, okay? I don't see him anymore with these commercials. Again, Toyota, it's like the girl got no legs. What does that got to do with Toyota? You know what I mean? The whole thing's bananas. But the one that pissed me off the most is this Oatly milk. You want to talk about somebody having a yes man around him, okay? This dude got a lot of yes men around him because he was the commercial. And I think he did it on purpose because he knew everybody would hate it. Dude, he's singing. What was the board meeting for this where he was like, all right, I got an idea. Let's pay $1 million for a commercial, but I'm going to be the commercial. I'm going to sing and do the jingle as the president of the company. What is everybody going to say? They're going to be like, oh, yeah, sir. Oh, my God. Oh, brilliant. Oh, Oh, great idea. Oh my God, this is the best. So, yes. Wow, we all should have thought of that. It's like, get out of here, man. Garbanzo beans, man. Places like that should hire me. I need to be like, you know how a lot of people got yes men around them? You need me. I'm going to come in as the no man. Nah, I don't think you should do that. That'll be what I do. That's why you hire me, and I go, nope. Anytime you want to do something, nope. Don't do that. Nope. I'm the nope man. Nope man. Nope man. That's what I want to be. So every week I'll try to bitch about something since that's my brand. But yeah, so the commercials were just weird. Again, it wasn't enough. I mean, this is different because I go to Vegas I go to Vegas every year for the Super Bowl. It's a fun thing. I like to go with my buddy Jeff, and we do these prop bets every year. We'll bet on like who the coin toss, all that stuff. I love betting on that stuff. You just $5-10 on all this stuff. You have like 20 of them in your hand. It's great. It's the first time I haven't gone in like 20 years. So, it is what it is. What are you supposed to do? You know what I mean? I just felt I wanted to be at home. I felt like, I don't want to deal with the travel and going out. And right now I got some gigs coming up because that I already had booked from like 7-8 months ago. And I'm just nervous about it. And they're asking me to do some other gigs like Arizona, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, do I want to do it? So I got to get up some courage and get back out there. I haven't been on a plane in over a year, and I've just been used to being a homebody, So, but anyways, I don't want to keep you guys much longer with me talking my yip yap. Real world advice from a grown ass man coming next week. So make sure you check out my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Erik Griffin because I usually put the question up there. Then I get the questions from Instagram right there. So and then again, I game on Erik Griffin Gaming every day on Twitch. So check me out there. Other stuff coming in the gaming world, so I'm excited about that. But anyways, now this is my buddy Nick Thune. He was in a movie called The Right One, and he's out in Vancouver right now shooting a movie. So we got on the internet call, and I just interviewed him, and it's good catching up with somebody that I haven't talked to in a while. And he talks a little bit about the movie and his life, and we just get into like shop talk as comics often do. So first I'll play the trailer from the movie, and then I'll get into the interview with Nick. And once again, thanks for watching Riffin with Griffin.
Hi. Sara, I'm expecting to see some pages by the end of the week.
Do you hear me? Yeah, I know. I am just working here.
Are you fake typing?
No.
Shall we discuss your deadline?
No, anything but that. God, I wish I could return that stupid advance.
It's not stupid, it's amazing. Especially considering the fact that nobody reads anymore!
What about right now? What if we just lived right now?
Who is this guy?
I don't know, looks like Austin Powers. Up your chimney sweep. Come on.
Excuse me, weren't you at the Wanky Gallery in Fremont?
I truly think you have me mistaken for somebody else.
Who the hell are you?
What's this guy's name anyway?
You know what? I don't know.
I brought you here for a reason. I got a feeling about you.
You're mistaking crazy for interesting.
You're a complete original. He's not one person. He's like many different people.
What is that?
He is the company's top sales performer for 3 straight years.
That. You can tell that he's breaking about 8 different dress code policies.
Is he ever himself? Have I actually even met the guy? I need to know who I'm with. I'm so confused. Like, who have I been hanging out with this whole time?
I'm ready to live. I'm ready to love.
I was kind of in a funk. Couldn't access my creativity.
It's our time to live our life.
And then I met you, and that all went away.
I'm ready to feel. I'm ready to fly. To stay in this world.
If you reduce the world down, we're all just one big organism. What we do has an effect on others.
So make it last forever.
Who are you?
You know I am a good friend, and friends tell each other the truth even when it sucks.
Yeah, well, this lunch sucks. The food is very good, but
The food is very
this
good.
sucks.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Riffin with Griffin. And we have one of the stars of the new movie, The Right One, and one of my longtime friends, fellow comedian, Mr. Nick Thune. Nick, we've had technical difficulties, but we're here now. Welcome to the podcast, and thanks for being here. And we just saw the trailer. But let's talk about the movie. Then we'll catch up and I want to find out how you're doing, what you've been doing, and all that kind of great stuff in these crazy times. But welcome.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It's an honor to be here. I want to thank everybody that made this possible. I know that there was like 10 people involved on emails and.
Isn't it funny how agents and managers and publicists, they want to feel so important that they want to be, it's like, I was saying from the beginning, I remember that I had your number. I wasn't sure if I had it or you changed your number, but I'm going through them and I just thought to myself, let me look at my phone. Nick, there it is. Then I hit you. Hey man, it's so much easier like this, but we pay them so much of our money that they have to do something, right?
And then I get that text from you and it says, hey, do you want to update your contact information? Erik's got a new picture, and so now I see your new picture, and you're all updated in my phone. It just it really brought us together.
It's like it's brought us together over so much time. It's funny you say that. It's funny how I always say that comedians are like working at like a really big super Walmart, and so like maybe you're over in produce and I'm over in like mechanical, and we see each other in the break room and we work together sort of, but it's like we still are like, when it comes to like what are you doing in your personal life and all that kind of stuff, we may not necessarily know, but it's amazing how many like of these like sort of like relationships that we have because of comedy that we probably should do better at, but it's like, man, there's so many of them, and we live in so many different places, it's hard to keep up.
I mean, it's like, hey, do you know Erik in mechanics? It's like, I mean, yeah, we've walked by each other in the green room a couple times. We parked next to each other last week, and that was a fun walk.
I know that you might say like, hey, how you doing? Oh, it's good to see you. What's going on in produce? Everything's great. Cool, man.
Big E.
Yeah. We got those like work nicknames.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways,
here comes Nick Knack.
Oh, it's Nick Knack Paddywhack. What's going on, buddy? But let me see. So The Right One. Listen, I saw the trailer. I started watching some of the movie because they sent me a thing and I started watching some of it last night. I got to say, man, this is like, it's weird because you're a leading man in this movie, but then you're also doing like so many different types of versions of yourself. How was that? I mean, we saw everybody just saw the trailer, and it's like I said, you're playing so many different characters, and I thought that myself. I was like, oh man, Nick's the leading man in this. Good for him. But then I was like, oh wait a minute.
He's doing character work.
He's also the weirdo in the movie. He's the friend in the movie. He's like, so what? Tell us about this movie. Like, what's your experience and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it was like originally written for somebody that we're friends. I probably shouldn't say who, but somebody who is really capable of doing accents. Oh, right. And like really capable of kind of stepping into this weirdness of like, and I got, they passed on it, luckily. So they went to the next guy in line, which is obviously me. And who knows how many guys were in line before me. But when they got to me, I called the director. I said, listen, I love the script. I mean, I don't want to like promise something that I can't deliver. I can't do accents. Like they scare me. I turn down auditions with like Southern accents in this.
Right.
He said, "Oh no, we'll tune the movie up to you and what your strengths are." And then we get there day one, and he's like, "All right, do an accent." I'm like, "What? No." We had a full phone conversation. I gave you an out. I did everything.
They were like, "Listen, we wanted Russell Brand."
So
can you do that?
And I was like, listen, I'll do my version, which is going to be a guy that doesn't quite know how to do accents, but he's fully committed.
Yeah.
And, like it was really, this role was fun because, I know that you've done stuff before where, you're being funny. And when you do the things where you're supposed to be dramatic, it's like, you really have to commit to fail, like a lot of the times it felt like I was failing, but then they're like, we got it. And it had to feel that way because I had to let go of any control to be cool or to try and be funny. It had to be real.
I know exactly what you mean, actually, because it's like when I was doing I'm Dying Up Here, and it was like this, this dramatic role that I didn't realize how dramatic it was. And what does that really mean to comics? It just means don't push to be funny. Just rely on your natural instincts of whatever in this moment. But it's like we're so used to like having instant gratification of like, if I don't do something to make the ether laugh, I'm not being funny. And it's like, I actually found doing drama easier than comedy.
Mm-hmm. It's especially if it's when the comedy's written out like a multicam where you're on a stage and there's an audience. I have a hard time with that because if they're not going to allow me to do my own timing and kind of bring in my thing, like I know how to sell a joke that's like not mine, but when it's something like this and the comedy comes out of the character, that's what I love. But what you just said about the stand-up, like we're so used to here's how I picture the audience when I'm performing. When they laugh, they're yelling, "We like you.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing." And I'm saying, "Cool, here comes more of it." And they're like, "Yep, right on par with what you did before. Keep it up." There's this constant dialogue of them affirming you. And on set, I mean, if you get a key grip to laugh, and you might have to do a reshoot. You might have to redo another take. So people are
that guy's fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny you say that. I know. I just remember working on an audition with a buddy of mine, and he was like the character. He wasn't the star of this scene, and he's doing all this stuff. And I said to him, "Hey man, you're not the funny in this. The funny is you being completely normal, and this star is reacting in this situation. Like so much of it is like reaction and what's happening in the moment. But as a performer, you think, we have this tendency to be like, no, it's what I'm doing right now. And then when you can get comfortable just being who you are in a scene, then if you're funny, you're going to be funny, and it's just going to play. And it's a different energy, obviously, right?
Yeah, the acting really comes between your lines. For me, it's like it's that listening that's when you're acting. Because you're hearing what they're saying and you're taking it in as that character, and you're formulating the response, which you already have read and learned, but now you have to say it in a way that seems like it's just natural, and it's so like you can't do that if you're not fully acting in between your lines. Just listening to them, that was my biggest problem in the beginning. It's like I'm just waiting to talk. It's like, yeah, get your line. Okay, cool. And now. And
I know. I mean, that's just the nature of being like a selfish artist, really. That's just what we are. We're just like these selfish attention monsters in when we're doing stand up,
Yeah.
I often think about, I remember one time this comic came up to me and like I was doing because I used you as a reference because he plays the guitar on stage, this particular comic, and I was doing a joke that it was similar to a friend of his joke or whatever, right? I've never, it's not, to me, it wasn't the same. We just had the same reference, and he, and I said to him, well, what if I said you're doing what Nick Thune does? Because you're playing a guitar on stage, because that's the only that's the similarity. It's just similar to the other thing, So it's like, what do you like? Because do you consider yourself a mainstream comic, or do you even like those kinds of distinctions? It's like being like an alternative comic versus like a or political comic versus like. Do you even have those kind of distinctions, or how would you even classify yourself when it comes to like Because
it's kind of hard.
I feel like this role. I feel like this role really lends itself to even how you do comedy. You know what I mean? Like, because you're putting on a performance even when you're on stage within every word, every joke that you do, and how you do it and how you present it. So, how do you, if that question even makes sense?
Well, I know it does actually, and if I really quickly, I want to label what I see your comedy as, because here's how I view comedy. Like, you get on stage and it's funny. It's just funny. You're funny. The way you talk, the way you respond, your thought process. And so that's mainstream to me, because that's an authentic version of you that I'm seeing. So anybody can grasp that. Now the references might be geared more towards 20 somethings or, whatever, depending on who you're going to. But the beginning of my career, when I was just getting up at places and, becoming a regular at the Improv, and I was going up the Laugh Factory at 8 and going up at UCB and some weird show at 10. And I was doing the same set. And that to me felt like, okay, this is like mainstream because I can do it across platforms and it's working, it's working at the Laugh Factory and it's working here. And if I give it that, if I can do it across the board like that, and then it was the same thing of like doing Leno and then doing Conan, where it was like, okay, if I can do both of these, but I don't know if my comedy is meant for huge audiences. I love where it's at. I love going to a city and having a good amount of people that really are invested in seeing me, and I can give them. I just want to perform like to those people. It's so fun.
We've been doing it long enough now that we can look at ourselves now and go, okay, so I didn't become Kevin Hart. You know what I mean? It's like, so even if that was my intention when I first started, is I want to play and do with this and that and that. And okay, so it doesn't happen like that. And then you just go, well, who is my audience? And it's like, I guess as a comic, as an entertainer, you go, I like my audience. I like this amount of people when I go to a show, and I know, because I guess I know what you're saying, because I feel like for me, it's like, I'd rather have a room full of 50 people that love me than 1,000 people where like 800 of them are like, well, who's this guy? Or I don't know if I get this, or, but even if they just laugh like, ha ha ha, I guess we're laughing because everybody's laughing, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
A niche audience.
I said at one point I was telling my audience, I go, here's how you can tell my audience. There's a lot of guys that look kind of like me and a lot of girls that look confused as to where they are. Like girlfriends that they brought with them. Like, and every time I have a new opener, and I try and keep I try and kind of keep the same people, because I love who I'm around dictates my attitude and my performance. And they're always just like, wow, this audience, they're so nice. They're so kind and kind of, and that's what I love. And I toured with this musician who plays like 500 seats, and he just does. That's probably his peak. And he's like, I don't want any more and I don't want any less.
Right.
If I just want to keep this because it's enjoyable. It's nice. The room feels good, like if that's how I feel every time I perform, then great. And if I'm surviving, great.
Yeah, man, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Even though it's like I do this podcast, and it's like, it's like, damn, do I want my podcast to be as big as Rogan's podcast? Or, you know what I mean? Like, is that what you measure yourself on every time you do anything? Is like, who's doing it on a grander scale? Is that what I'm trying to achieve? And there is a part of you that is trying to achieve that, but it's about just being comfortable with like who you are and how you get to that point. And so that's where I realized it's like, oh, okay, so I'm at this point. This might not be what a greater audience wants, but I found the audience that does want it, and that feels comfortable. So when you started doing stand-up, did you envision yourself always being an actor? Was it an actor first, stand-up second, or was it like just you always had a mind of doing both?
It was stand-up first, and then acting came, and it was really hard. And it wasn't the instant gratification. I wasn't that good at it. It was like, I would go to, work with like my acting coach, and I've had the same guy for 16 years now. And, I would go to him and have to stop in the middle because there's a guy mowing a lawn, or there's a blower, or somebody walked by the window, and I just can't do this. I can't do it. This role's not right for me anyway, bye.
Right. Whereas
now I walk in and we pound out an audition in no time, and I know what I'm doing, and lines are easy to remember. And when it clicked for me was when I realized, how do I do me like on stage? Like what works with me on stage? And that's this kind of guy that seems sincere, delivering lines that really are pretty stupid. And how do I bring that to this?
Yeah.
I think Aziz actually said that to me once. Aziz told me, like, this is like right after he got Parks and Rec. He was like, just go in there and every line, this is obviously for comedy auditions. He's like, I pretend every line I'm on stage. Like, I just say it if I was on stage.
I always say when I'm doing an audition, I always say a tip for doing auditions is act like you're actually filming the show right then and there. Like, this is like you're filming it right now, Dude, the audition process is so bananas. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's so, especially now with these, like, so can you send us a self-tape and all this? And you just go, what? Unless it's some meaty dialogue where you can go, I can really delve into this and show them something. Usually it's not that. So you just kind of go, what are you seeing in this dumb 2-line, whatever this is, that you can't decide, I think he can do it. We like how he looks, or we like that, you know, or I rather than the director, producer get on and let's have a conversation like this. Let's talk about the role. Let's talk about what it means. And it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I like, ideally, like right now I'm in Vancouver and I'm in a 2-week quarantine and I'm going to shoot a movie. And I just got it offered and I was like, well, this would be great if I could just get this all the time.
Yeah.
Because, and it's, you know, that's sometimes the bonus that we have as comedians is people see us and they just think, that's what I want. I see what he is and that's it, you know, and this is not like I'm doing a huge movie that I got offered like the role of Batman or something, but you know, it's.
But even still, let's say you did get offered Batman. I would think that you would have got offered Batman for more than just, you know, you had like they sent a scene with you and Bane. No, they would want to be like, well, let's see what he looks like in the suit. Is he in shape? Is he like? Does he have charisma this way? It's like, are you going to see? Sometimes I just wonder, like, is it the auditions? I mean, I get with somebody new who's never done anything, but at a certain point, you've been in the business long enough where they can go, well, you know what? We've seen him on this, and this. I think a combination of all that, you know, then they could be like, all right, we'd like to see you do this scene because this scene really shows some stuff. But a lot of times it's never a good scene.
No, and they know within 10 seconds, even before you start reading, you know, they know within 10 seconds of you walking in the room. And I've been told that by some producers and I believe that. I've, you know, now that we're doing the self-taping more and I'm watching my tapes more, I can be like, oh yeah, in the beginning of this tape, I am confident and I'm aware and I'm ready and I do it. Right. And that's all they need to see.
Yeah. Well, you know, have you ever been a part of the casting process?
Yes. I've had to be the guy where they had like 6 girls come in and read with me.
Oh.
And like 6 guys that were supposed to be my best friend.
See, okay, you know, I've experienced that too. It was going to be this dramatic thing, and you know, the people come in. I learned a lot from being on the other side of that.
Yeah,
you know, because one of the things was what you're saying is like, I remember this thinking, oh, that guy's good, but he's just not prepared. And I thought to myself, like, it really was distracting that he didn't know the lines. And then another guy was like, oh, he was good, but, and I thought, ooh, I got to remember this when I'm on the other side of this. You know, but the other thing too is like, I felt like the casting person, they had their favorite. They wanted this one person, and they were pushing that agenda. You know, and I thought, oh man, there's so much more to this than just like, as an actor, you think, I gave the best performance, and so I should get the part. And I'm looking at this now, and I'm realizing, oh man, there's a whole plethora and nuance to this audition process that, you know, you just got to go in and do your best and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I remember one of the people that auditioned to be like my friend in this movie. He walked in and took his shoes off. He was like barefoot, and halfway through the scenes, he would trail off and not even end them really. And it was like I found out that he was with my same agent afterwards, and I called my agent and I'm like, listen, he needs to know a couple things. 2, he needs to learn his lines and finish scenes. But don't take your shoes off, man. It's just not a good look. Like, no one thinks you're Matthew McConaughey.
Right.
No one thinks you're like fucking getting grounded in the room. Like, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see your feet.
Yeah.
They don't want
unless it actually serves the scene, you know, like unless it says, you know, on the beach, so and so comes out barefoot. You know, I know what you mean. Some people are just artsy fartsy, man. Do you consider yourself artsy fartsy? Because you know what, without having like in depth conversations with you, just seeing you from a distance, I would think you were artsy fartsy.
Yeah, I can be a little artsy fartsy for sure. Maybe more on the fartsy side, but I do take it serious, you know, like when I'm acting on set, though, I'm not like a method guy, but I do take space and I do tell people what I need, what I require to be able to produce what I'm doing, like to be in the right mindset. And that means like Don't ever try and show me footage or playback. I won't look at it ever.
Really? Why is that?
I don't want to see me. I don't want to see who I know as me doing this character. I just want to do it. I don't want to have any conception of what I look like, how I'm walking. If I don't like the way that I'm standing or that I'm leaning, I don't want any of that. Because it just brings me back to me, you know, and I'm really fighting everything I have right now to be this version of myself essentially, but like, you know, so yeah, I do have like my process and things, but I also know like when you walk into an audition, you want to present yourself as easy to work with and like not a problem. Yeah, I'm sure you can be artsy fartsy and like talk a little bit and whatever, but you know, fucking taking your shoes off and saying like, I just want to be grounded for this. It's like, they don't know. They don't want that.
I think there's a fine line about, I think what we're talking about is like professionalism. Because when I say artsy fartsy, I don't mean it in a negative way, even though it can be taken that way, you know? It's just like there's a certain like, you know, again, like my experience working on I'm Dying Up Here, working with these like, you know, Melissa Leo, she's an Academy Award winning actress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then me like, you know, her coming and tapping me on the shoulder and giving me some tip, you know, her saying to me like, you know, something, and I just realized, oh, this is how you're doing this is you're coming at this in a whole way that I've never thought about coming at it before. Not to say that my process is bad or her process is the right way, but it does, you know, there is these different approaches that people have. And I do find that the comedians have a more, I want to say, grounded, laid back approach, I find, just because we don't even realize how much acting we're doing anyway, even when we get on stage.
Yeah, I had one job where I learned a couple things. Amy Poehler was producing it, and I used to like go back to Video Village just to like, not even to watch, but you know, this was when I would watch myself, but also just like in a Video Village, if anyone doesn't know, is like where everyone's watching the director and the producers, and they've got screens in there, and then they talk amongst themselves between takes, and that's when the notes come from. And I would go back there, and Amy pulled me aside, and it was all based out of insecurity, you know. And she goes, never ever again come back here. You are an actor, you stay over there and you keep doing what you're doing. If somebody here has something to say to you, they will come and say it. If you come back here, you're showing that you're wanting to hear something. They're going to maybe make up notes at that point because you're just there. It's easy to do. But you need to be confident over there, not caring and not looking to them for answers.
You know what's crazy about this right now is I actually feel the complete opposite of this, and I got this from what I did work with Adam Sandler, you know, and we did this murder mystery, and so we had this long walk and talk, you know, we're walking from way down the street, and it's a long walk and talk, all right. And then he goes over to the Video Village to look at it because, you know, he's the producer, whatever, you know, and I went too, and I'm looking, and I saw it, and I was like, ooh, I'm doing a weird walk. Let me fix that, you know, or like I'm doing something with my hands that I'm like, oh, I'm not aware of certain things, and that actually helped me. So I actually got something out of looking at and being like, okay, boom, I like that. Let me do it like this. So it's interesting. This perspective that you're telling me about, because I never even thought of it like that. I don't even think I'm going over there because of insecurity or anything. Just more like I want to get the best out of my performance, so let me look at it. You know?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people get help that. And sometimes if they're like, listen, I don't want you to watch yourself. I just want you to see what it looks like, so you know where you are. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, just show it to me. Like, show me the frame. But I know I'm aware of my hands and stuff so much that like I can like, I'll realize that I'll do a take and I'll be like, why the fuck was I doing this?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, why was I like telling somebody like, you know, and it's like, oh, just stop, man. Like fucking stop itching your nose and like scratching yourself. Like, you know,
when I do, that's so funny. When I first started acting, my first job, I remember in Workaholics, I was doing these, and then yeah, just for you know what I mean. Like I was like, oh, I have to act with every part of my body, you know. And then
it's like, hey man, it's like, no, do you wave at somebody when they're standing right in front of you and say, hey man?
Yeah, it's like,
no, I guess I don't do that.
It's like you need some sort of like activity. I found I'm Dying Up Here. I was smoking a lot. And I realized, oh, this is actually a great thing. It's a great, like, it really keeps you like doing something. You know what I mean? So it's like, I know what you're saying, man. I was never, just being aware of yourself is important. I mean, it just knowing yourself. And when you start doing this more, and if you do kind of occasionally look at yourself, do you watch the shows after? Well, will you watch a movie you're in? Can you watch shows?
I like to, yeah.
Okay,
I do
good.
like to. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good, because some people are like, you don't want to watch it ever. They're like, I did it, it's done. I'm done with that. I'm moving on.
Yeah. I like to watch it with somebody, like, there's like 3 people that I would watch something with that I'm in. Well, and it's people that know how it goes. People that know, like, silence is a thing. And it doesn't have to be awkward. It's just quiet. You want to hear the words. It's like, I don't know if you've ever, like, gone into the studio with a musician and they, like, wanted to play you a track. And you don't fucking talk. You don't move. You don't make noise. You sit back and you hear it for 3.5 minutes or however long it is, and then you discuss. If you say one word, you're distracting from the sound, and they're like, you just missed one fucking guitar riff that you needed to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
So, and also there's just people I trust that'll be like, you did great, man. This is why, and or be like, that's, you know, when not that many people are going to see it, you're fine.
I find myself able to look at myself and kind of divorce myself of, like, that's me, you know? I actually
really?
Yeah, I actually really enjoy, like, I watch and I go, oh, this guy, oh, that guy, oh, that wasn't. I really can look at it like that. It's been a strange thing for me. It's like that's why it's really good. Like, when you did this movie, the right one, you're dressed up in so many different outfits and costumes. Like, so when you look at it, does that help you, like, to like, you know, oh, that's not Nick, that's so and so.
Well, especially when I was dressed as a woman for part of it. I don't know if you saw that part.
Oh,
but
I didn't see that part.
It's you know, I go and perform a song at, like, on stage dressed as a woman, you know, and I'm, like, doing a different kind of talk. I'm not, like, trying to talk like a woman, but it's just a different speech. And, you know, it's, like, obvious a guy dressed as a woman, but I remember, like, looking in the mirror and, like, kind of twirling my hair and, like, you know, I found that, you know, and that costume really helped me find that.
Yeah, there's nothing like dress up. Dress up really does help you, you know, really lose yourself and be like, let me do something I've never done. I can't do as Erik. I can't do this as Nick. I wouldn't, you know what I mean? And then you go, oh, this is great. I could do it like this with this with this thing. You know, you play music yourself. You know, you're a musician. I know you can sing.
Yeah, you do too, don't you?
Not really. I just sing, but I don't play an instrument. You know?
Yeah, I've heard you sing. Yeah.
You know, but it's like, was there ever a time when you thought, oh man, I want to be Bruce Springsteen? Or, like, you know what I mean?
Still.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, God, I love music so much. And I know that's not like an original feeling, but my whole life, it's just been a source of stepping out of myself. And that's what I love about my stand-up. Like, I can express, I feel like I feel like I'm a musician the way that I do my stand-up.
Right.
In the sense that, like, when I'm doing an hour, I've constructed it in a way that is up and down, and it feels like a concert or something, you know? It's like fun.
Yes.
To be like a heartthrob lead singer that has, like, you know, like, really putting his heart out there and shit, like, God, that'd be amazing. I can't write that way.
Do you think, do you
or take myself seriously?
Okay, so I was going to say, because do you really think it's the writing, or do you think it's more about how a person feels about themselves as a performer?
Yeah, because I'll write, and I've written a few songs, and, you know, I'm right now I'm actually writing probably more music than I've ever written, and it's, you know, it's like my voice comes through in it in a way to where it's like, oh, the wittiness, you know, like when you listen to people that I idolize, like John Prine, or, you know, these artists where the lyrics are jokes. I mean, they're funny. They're so funny and grounded, and you just hear it, and you're like, you hear his voice. It's like reading Hunter S. Thompson. You know his voice. You read it, that sentence, it's 7 words, but it looks like Hunter S. Thompson, you know?
Is there a feeling that you have that you're not good enough to be a musician artist like that? Do you feel that, or do you? Or
oh yeah, I feel like I'm a joke as a musician, but it's, you know, I think everyone feels that way.
Right.
Like it's something that's so funny. Like I still feel that way about being a comedian sometimes. It's like, how did I get here? Some people consider me a pro. Weird.
You know, it's funny you say that because there's another guy in a comic who does music, and I've always had these in-depth talks with him about this, where I said, man, you shouldn't be at the comedy club. You should be at the Roxy. You should be doing what you're doing at the Roxy, not at the comedy club, because at the comedy club, what you're doing is you don't have respect for your musical art. That's why you're at the comedy club, as opposed to being at some place where it's music, because you don't think the music's good enough for that place. So then but this is different from comedy, you know. It's you know, so we got into a whole thing about it. That's how I feel about it. So I was curious to hear, because how you're talking about this, I feel like you could be a heartthrob musician. You know, I don't know why you don't think that, because with this movie, The Right One, my first thought from the trailer was, oh, you're being a leading man, and you looked like a leading man.
Oh well, thank you.
Yeah,
that's the makeup.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's just like, you know, it's like, I don't know why getting into comedy is so like attached, like with like an umbilical cord to the core of our insecurities.
Mm-hmm. It's what keeps me on stage, really. You know, I don't have insecurity anymore that I'm going to fail. Now my only insecurity is that I'm a joke. You know,
I know what you mean. At a certain point, we can't even say you're a failure when you've been in the business for so long. So then, even to yourself, you can't even rationalize it. You know, so then we go to these other things. It's more nuanced in our head.
And I know that there's still some bombs ahead of me in front of audiences, but I don't even fucking care, man. Literally, like, let me piss myself on stage. I don't care. I'll find a way out of it. And like, that's my resourceful, like, you know, like I find a way out of bombing. That's how we do it. We're like, you can't kill us.
Yeah.
On stage.
I think
we're going to survive.
The first time early on in my career that I bombed really bad and it didn't matter to me was the moment I knew that I was going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
Because then it became like, I always have like a different point of emphasis now. So even if like, let's say if you wrote a new song, a joke with, you know, you might be able to go on stage and be like, I need to just work on this, and whatever else happens, I don't care, as long as that moment is successful. Because that's what sometimes I go on stage like that. I go, I had this new thought I want to work on, and everything else I'm just like, all right, I'll just go into other, you know. But it's like I had that point of emphasis, and I'm not really caring about you know, then it becomes different when you're like on the road and it's like Nick Thune up on this thing. And then it's like, oh man, I'm putting on a show right now and I have an obligation to this crowd. And it becomes, you know how it all becomes different in your head. And
yeah, you know what, but you know what our real obligation to that crowd is to be there. Like the musician that I toured with, this guy named Damian Gerardo, who's really just a prolific songwriter. He told me that he goes on stage and he gives them the opportunity to watch what he would do alone at his house.
Ooh,
he lets them have that.
I like that.
He lets them have it. Like what a great thing to give them. And that's what I do. I started taking that on stage with me. Like, you know what? I'm not here to fulfill whatever $20 these people spent on a ticket and feel like I gave them $20 worth. They paid $20 to watch me do this, and I'm going to do what I want to do. That's what they're paying for.
Oh, I think that's great. That's actually a great gem that really has like really resonates with me right now, because I find that doing podcasting, I find that I probably have given more of my true self to my audience than I have on stage as a comedian trying to write jokes and craft all these things. And so I totally can see why, you know, I see why podcasting is popular, especially with because of people's personality, you can't, after a while, you can't hide who you are. This is me, you know what I mean? And so
all these things are going to come through.
And I think that it is a nice thing to try to take that on stage or in your performance, no matter where you are. So yeah, that's a gem.
I remember, the concept of podcast and like your life. I remember I was shooting something in Chicago, and Pete Holmes came. He was like coming through and doing like 2 shows at like the Lincoln Lodge at the time or something. And he was like, yeah, come on down, do a set. And I was like, oh, I need it. Thank you. And go. And then I watch his whole set. And I mean, he's like, his podcast has just become like really popular. And everyone there is just like so excited to watch him, and he had a great set. And afterwards we're hanging out, and some guy walks up to him and he's like, hey man, and Pete's not shy about his actual life. But the guy goes, hey man, you know that guy that your wife cheated on you with? I went to high school with him. And I'm looking at Pete like, see, and that's why I'll never do a podcast. Yeah. I never need anyone knowing that much about me.
You're like, that's none of your business.
But Pete puts it all out there, which is, I mean, he did it in his show. I mean, his whole show is based on that. But like, it was so funny. I was like, man, what a thing to say.
I've experienced what you're saying right now, because I was doing a movie in Boston, and Eric Andre was in town playing some theater gig, and he hits me up. He's like, "Yo, dude, come on down and do a set." You know what I mean? And I get there, and it's packed theater, and like I don't even know Eric Andre has an audience like this. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is what we were talking about earlier about knowing your niche, like having your whoever he has it. He has his group, And I went on stage, and it was like, of course, because it's like this age group, they're like, oh shit, it's Montez from Workaholics. You know what I mean? It's like I'm this weird attraction now. And I was like, oh wow, this feels great. I was like, this feels better than like there was something about it. And so I guess now from hearing you talk about it, now I'm actually connecting the dots of what that really is. It's when your audience really, they feel like they really know who you are, and they appreciate it, and they just want to see that.
Yeah. And I've revealed who I am through podcasts like that aren't mine, like doing Marin and doing like certain podcasts where people like, really gotten into like, oh yeah, you were in rehab or you got arrested and you did, like, it's like, yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah. We have the judge from your trial. He's here right now. Come on out.
But and that's so I do like people at least knowing like, oh, this is a troubled man who's really trying to do right. That's nice.
Yeah, but I think that if we're being honest, we don't mind sharing that, but what we don't want to do is discuss it with every individual that comes to us on the street. Like that's the thing that we don't want, and that's
just like they wouldn't want to.
Just like they wouldn't want that either, but. I think there is something about this format where people think like, oh man, I really know that guy now. Let me get over there and say, hey man, I was in rehab too. And there's a part of you that wants to be like, oh, that's good, man. I'm glad you're doing well. But it's like, I don't necessarily want to go into depth with you about everything that, that you've been touched by and all that kind of stuff, because it's like, I'm trying to get this Subway sandwich. I'm next in line. It's like
it's somebody, and they're like, oh, but hold on. You mentioned this chicken that you made on your podcast. Right. And I've done that, but if you add beets and you're like, okay, yeah. Beets, great.
Bro, it's like all you want people to do is like just, it's like they're people do take ownership of any performer. They do. They just really, no matter who it is, even if they're not on a podcast, even if they even haven't been personal, there's a certain level of like, you see them in a restaurant and you just want to be like, oh man, I don't want to be this guy. I always stop them and go, yes, you do.
Yeah, you're being that guy.
You're being that guy. Just own it. My whole thing is like, I just want you to own it right now. Just own that you're being that guy, and I'll do whatever you want right now.
Remember that time you said you came blood? My brother did that. And you're like, no, I'm actually talking to the waiter right now.
Yeah, dude. It's like, I'm on one knee. I'm trying to propose to my my girl right here. We're trying to be, you know what I mean? But thank you for this experience, So.
But seriously, if anybody out there has come blood, please talk to me.
Ugh, that would be that's a nice. As you get older, those are the kind of things you start to worry about.
No, that did happen to me when I was like 30.
Oh wow,
It was so weird.
Yeah, that does.
I went to the doctor, and I like went to a urologist. Like, so you're like sitting in his office, across the desk from him. And he's like, "Okay, so you came blood. Have you talked to anybody about it?" And I've realized that he has no fucking idea what's going on. He doesn't know why I came blood. He's not dealt with that.
Well, you could have asked a lot of questions. It could be like, do you jam things in your hole? Do you like, it could have been, you know what I mean? It could have been a number. That's scary though. When you go to the doctor and then you're there for whatever it is, and then they're looking at you like, well, what do you think it is? Like, bitch, I'm here for you. Like, this is.
He's Googling blood and cum.
I know. You'd be like, wait a minute, you're on WebMD? It's like, I was told never trust WebMD.
We go to the same web doctor.
You know what I do like about this conversation, and I hate that I'm even bringing this up in the conversation, because I've had so many because like right now in the world right now, you call somebody and you go, hey man, how you doing? And they're like, what do you mean how I'm doing? I'm doing the same as you. I'm fucking stuck at home and I hate COVID. But how have you been doing in COVID?
Yeah, I've been doing great. It's like I haven't worked. I've had like 3 stand-up gigs that, like 2 private parties, like in the Hollywood Hills for some producers or something.
Right.
And then I did like an online Zoom gig for a company, which here's the great thing is that they asked me to roast them, which I'm known for. And
no, that's one of those because you're a comic. Oh, it means you talk shit to people, right? Like they don't. That's them not knowing anything about you.
Yeah, and they're like, and here's our 4 executives. These 4 white dudes, like just out of like a frat that started a company together. And they're like, here's the list of things, and like one of them, it's like Matt's a total numbers guy. He loves numbers, and I'm like, okay. And they're like, and Jason pees all the time. Like during meetings, he has to get up and pee. I'm like, oh, Jesus. And then there's this whole list of things. It's like, don't talk about race, gender, politics, like all these things.
Yeah, I
and
know.
so my first joke was like, they want me to roast them. And they said that I can't touch on race or gender, which obviously they also didn't touch on when they chose who the executives were for this company, which is these 4 white guys. And dude, I've never like done a corporate gig and got messages like that. I was getting messages on Instagram, like, cause there was like 500 employees kind of everywhere.
They were like, I love it. Right.
Dude, one guy sent me like a black fist. And he was like, dude, someone needed to say it. And I was like, whoa.
Dude,
okay.
You know what's funny is like they don't even know that in our mind, we're just making fun of this nonsense restrictions and stuff that they're doing. But what we don't even realize is that really taps into the psyche of how people feel about the whole thing in general. I've experienced that same thing, man, where you just go, what are you talking about? What do you mean I can't talk about, that you hit on something.
Yeah.
My biggest frustration when people put on a comedy show, they just think all you need is a mic and sound and everything will be fine. It's like and then you're in like some conference room of like some weird building and you just go, this is not conducive to like a comedy show. Like what are you guys talking about?
Well, I can understand, like I did a show where I was in a coffee shop and it was like it was like at 5, it was still like light outside, and there's like 3 comedians and there's like 3 people in the coffee shop and an employee, and somebody no one even gives a fuck what I'm doing, And then somebody walks in and I realize, oh, this person has no idea that this is a comedy show.
Love that.
So they walk in and I go, and that's why I think it's great, that they hire employees that openly have AIDS and open sores and they're back there behind the counter, and they can just touch everybody. And they like asked me to leave and they said I could never come back. And I was like, you know what? That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense that I stepped over the line on that one.
Okay.
But like, saying I can't touch on race or gender, it's like, what, man?
Sometimes it's just that they just have, I just think that there's like a general lack of understanding of like the comedy process. So I was doing a show for a homeless shelter in LA. It's so they're having this
Santa Monica?
No, it was for downtown. And they're having this sort of swanky kind of event for people to, and so like it's like 3 comics go up, and then the president of the company goes up, and he said they go, well, Erik, before you, this guy's going to go up and talk about, the homeless shelter. You want to talk? This guy is going in about how bad the homeless problem is. He's going in about, and then they bring up someone who was homeless at one time, was on drugs, has gone through all the stuff. He comes up and talks, and then after that, they're like, and now our headliner, Erik Griffin.
Oh God.
So I go up and I say to them, well, actually, before me, it's going to be kids with AIDS in wheelchairs. Let's bring them out, and then, and so then I think they got it, because then everybody laughed like, oh yeah, that was kind of like not in the
yeah.
Probably shouldn't have done it in that order.
Yeah. And that's, they're actually going to do a quick funeral procession here, and then I'm going to go on.
Yeah, dude.
I'll probably.
Yeah, you do. You just kind of go like, "What are you talking about? What are you saying right now?" I hate the idea. Listen, I hate the idea that we're just complete monsters. Like that's how when they come to you and they say things like, "Hey, can we not talk about this, and this?" As if you're just gonna come out there and be like, whores, black women suck, and like, it's like, no, man. It's nuanced. If you're saying to me, don't be offensive or please, but don't tell me specific things I can't talk about, because there still is a way to talk about that I'm going to make you laugh. And when you tell a comic that kind of stuff, the first thing we're going to do is challenge their idea of what they think is right and wrong. And that's what you did with those people right there. I mean, that's the challenge. Like, it's almost like, oh, thank you for telling me that, because guess what?
I know. And it's like, and now because I did that, they're going to have to be even more upfront with people, like, and do not, when you see this list, still don't say anything.
I know. Please don't bring up the fact that we're actually not following the thing that we're saying that we're going to follow. Okay, go.
Yep.
It's like, but the other side of that is there obviously is a desire and a urge in all of us, in all walks of society, to laugh and to make fun of ourselves. I think that when a company like that comes to you and says, hey, can you come do this? It's because they're going, shit, we are taking ourselves way too serious. Can you please come and lighten the mood?
Yeah, make fun of us.
Yeah, please make fun of us, but you're just kind of like, okay, I don't know you to make fun of you.
Humanize you. Well, like, what do you think I'm going to be like? Oh, he was a Nebraska Husker. We all know what the Huskers are like.
I know. Right. I did a Zoom show like about a month ago for this like tech. It was for this, not SpaceX, but they're part of SpaceX, but they're like the people that make the parts for the space, And so like the CEOs, they're all zoomed in and there's screens all over me. There's this company that does it. They have all these screens so you could see everybody, And the CEO of the company, he's there and it's like, he clearly has a better place than everybody. You know what I mean? So I just made fun of him that way. I was like, dude, you got to have the $100,000 painting behind you with all your employees here, And you can just see how the employees, they love that kind of stuff. They're like, but I can see that guy was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. No, and the thing about the guy that they said, the only people I could see when I did that show were the 4 executives. Like, because they didn't have it. Like, I couldn't see anyone else.
Right.
And there was no sound. So like, I never heard a noise from the audience because it was muted. But the guy that they said that pees a lot in meetings, I go, and Jason, I know they wrote down here, he does get up and pee a lot in the meetings. And, I wanted to find out more about where that came from. And I talked to Jason's mom, and Diane was so sweet. And, she had nothing but great things to say. And she was so proud because I guess Jason is just last night had his 37th dry night in a row. And, we're so happy that he's not wet in the bed like he was just 38 days ago, and again, they were just like, no, don't do it that way. Don't like make it seem like Jason's wetting the bed. I'm like, well, then what the fuck? I'm not a roast guy.
Yeah. Or even still, it's like, you're not like, why don't you just do it? You know what I mean? Like, why don't you guys just do it? Like, what do you want from me? You know what I mean? That's such a, my God, it's just such a strange experience. Like what we go through just to do this strange thing called comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's one of them that was like, oh, Jason or whatever has like, he's known for his hair. He's got great hair. And I was like, that's so great that he's known for something that just doesn't matter. You know, and I know that he shows up every day with that hair thinking I'm better than you, but he's not. I mean, it's not even that great. Like, it's not good, you know. And then they're like, no, don't actually make fun of us.
Especially when they're the only ones on the screen. Because it's like... And then everybody at home was like this is fucking awesome. He's telling them up. That's the thing that like that's the interesting. That's the best part about it because those people at home are loving that. I've seen that. I mean, last one is like I was in La Jolla Comedy Store and it was a private gig and then like I didn't realize this, but there was like there was a couple in the front row and they were being so obnoxious, you know. Like they were being obnoxious in a way, like the wife's interrupting me, you know, and I'm like, what? And then I said to them, I was like, oh, I get it. You guys must run this company because you think that you can say and do whatever you want.
Oh yeah,
you know, and the whole place visibly shift, like you can see the whole room go like this. Ooh, okay, wow, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know,
yeah.
And then I picked up on it. I was like, and then you know what? Comics, we like to triple down on shit.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
So I'm doubling down on it. I'm like letting them know, like, oh, listen, I don't actually work for you. So let me let you know, like, I'm sure this annoys the shit out of all your employees right now. You know, and it's like, I think, oh, this is, because I'm giving, what these people don't realize they put on this event, this is the thing that really is going to help the morale of the whole place. The whole place needs to know that they need to hear someone telling you, sometimes you're a piece of shit, boss. You know, I have
a bit where I talk about, it's like a story of this one-armed lady that I had an interaction with at an airport once, you know, and the reveal of her having one arm and kind of the whole part about the story. And I was touring and I had a girlfriend that was with me for a few days and she comes backstage and she goes, there's a guy in the front row with one arm. I just want you to know, like, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, what do you mean? Actually, now I'm opening with that. Yeah. She's like, what? And I go, yeah, this is it.
Yeah. You shouldn't have told me that.
Yeah. It crushed. And it's like, you think that guy's sitting up in the front row with one arm, not thinking I'm going to talk about it?
Yeah. No,
Let's
that's everyone else's guilt that they feel, you know?
Yeah.
It's that whole thing is like when you do a joke about you do a black joke and all the white people look at the black person. That's a real thing. Mm-hmm. It's a real feeling where it's like, no, there was a guy in my audience one time that he was full on paraplegic. You know, I'm talking about he was in the wheelchair, you know, with his people, you know, and I started making fun of him, you know, and everybody was like tense. Oh. You know, people got tense. But I'm looking at this guy and he's just like, I'm probably going to kill him because he's laughing so hard. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, and then I made fun of the crowd. I was like, oh, should this guy not feel normal? Should he not get like, because you guys want to feel better about yourselves, that you guys have all your limbs and you can walk, so you don't want to think, you know. And then it turned into like, you know, and then the person that was with, she came to me and she was like, you know, crying because she was like, thank you so much for making him feel like he's a part of this, you know. And I think that's what people forget, you know, that everyone wants to feel a part of the joke, you know.
Yeah, and if you're putting the focus on somebody and you're not like, if they didn't fucking heckle or do something dumb and you're just drawing attention to them, you're not going to tear them down unless you're an asshole and a fucking shitty comedian.
Exactly.
Like we're not there to tear them down. We're there to bring light and show, you know, like whatever,
I love a good wheelchair joke. And then a person in a wheelchair rolls up to you afterwards like, they're like, oh my God, can we take a picture? Can we do this thing? And it's like, that's when you go, oh, I won this moment.
Yeah.
You know?
I have some really great blind jokes that I've had like a couple people come up to me afterwards and like I have and I throw them in sporadically, like I BCC Stevie Wonder on all my emails, that kind of stuff. And they love it so much. If I do like an actual chunk of blind stuff, I have about 2-3 minutes.
Right.
And people get fucking worried.
Yeah,
and
they do.
The only time that there's ever been blind people at my show, they've wanted to meet me and take a photo with me.
Yeah, it's a weird thing when like whatever's going on, whatever sort of like feeling of sensitivity that's going on in the society, it's weird how it sort of trickles into the club where it cannot live. Like that virus that comes into a comedy club cannot survive there. Because it just, there's nothing for it to feed on here that it's just going to kill the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But listen, man, I don't want to keep you too much longer here.
Well, thanks for having me.
I really appreciate having this call. And it's like, this is probably the longest we've ever talked to each other in our whole lives. And it just makes me feel like, it's like, damn, I gotta reach out to people like yourselves more often.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, man.
Well, we've done green blots.
Yeah. That's true. We've been but it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, this is cool. I mean, and this is what I love about what we do. I do love about what we do, the kind of kindred spirit of like, being a performer and like, because it's only other performers can truly understand the weirdness that goes on in our head. And listen, I appreciate you being on. Like I said, I've started watching the movie. It's very enjoyable. I think you're doing a great job. I like I said, when I saw it, my first thought, even from watching the trailer, was like, look at Nick doing that leading man stuff, because I saw it. Not just, what I mean? It's not like I'm saying it like, look at this clown, No, I was like,
Well, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, so make sure, audience, Riffin with Griffin, people check that out. I'm going to have all of Nick's links down below. You can find you on all the social media so they can ask you about your bloody cum. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People, please send in pictures of your... There'll be a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, send it in Keynote if you can.
Yeah, whatever the new app is now. PowerPoint isn't even a thing. What am I talking about? But dude, thanks for being on. Be safe out there. Good luck on this new project, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Awesome, Erik.
Yeah,
talk to you soon, man.
Man, take care.
Yeah, you.
All right, and we did it. Please, I hope this worked. All right, guys. Well, that was Nick Thune, and I hope you watched that movie. Make sure you watch the right one. Check that movie out when it comes out. I think it's going to be streaming. Probably going to be out in, I think it's on Hulu, actually. But, check the movie out. And once again, thanks for watching Riffin with Griffin. I'm streaming. I'm always on Twitch. I'm Twitch daily at Erik Griffin Gaming. So make sure you guys check that out. And I got more guests and more interviews and more things coming moving forward. So make sure you guys look out for that. And thanks again for watching.